Right, now Limpopo Premier Phophi Ramathuba wants her province to be declared a disaster area. This after a vicious storm recently swept away churches and blew the roof of houses, leaving people homeless there. The Premier is joining us now for more. Premier, good evening and good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. Did your request for the province to be declared a disaster receive a favourable welcome from the Cabinet?
I think we must appreciate that we were hosting the president and his cabinet this Friday, and they were there as part of a support visit and also to find how they can be able to assist the province. So in our presentation, of course, we had to use that opportunity to say, even though we have done and we're busy with the processes that needs to be followed, because once a disaster strikes, you need to follow processes which involved the proper and the relevant departments and COGTA, which is usually the department that usually cut across all the disasters. But when it's a sector like agriculture, for instance, we had drought, and the drought was followed by thunderstorms that destroyed residential areas in a number of our villages and within different municipalities. So that work has been done, and it would follow its proper processes that as described by government for ministers to then agree to declare them disaster. But we could not miss that opportunity when we were presenting during the visit by the president to also indicate that as a province, we are currently battling with two disasters, which is the drought and followed by the thunderstorms.
Yeah. Are you not concerned, though, particularly during this time of exams, especially the schools that would have been damaged? I believe there are a number of them in the province. In fact, Jacques Small saying that should be prioritized of the DA, and says the reason why we are here is because the department infrastructure budget was cut from 200 million in 2022-2023 financial year to 100 million, and so schools should be prioritized in this rescue.
Yes, it's true that indeed we have got infrastructure backlog when it comes to our schools, and not only with the schools, even with other essential departments. Infrastructure budget, as the country has not been performing well economically, continue to be cut, and that affects especially maintenance. So when you would have storms like this one, roofs that have not been maintained for some times becomes the ones that are badly damaged. So like I've indicated, the disaster management team within the province has been able to sit down, and the MEC for COGTA, you might have seen that he has been crisscrossing the province, visiting all those affected areas, and also relevant sector MECs were also visiting these areas, and our officials have been able to quantify. We will be able to cost and be able to submit to the Department of COGTA, which finally will have to submit to National Treasury. And once it's declared a disaster, National Treasury will then be able to support us with the funds that we need, because you would understand that a disaster, it's not a part of those that we would budget. We would not have known as a sector to say in education you are going to have that. Hence, that's why even our disaster teams are coordinated centrally and also at a municipality level. But for now, what I can reassure the people of South Africa is that we have been able to cope in terms of not disrupting examinations, especially the grade 12. They've been able to to write the exams. Well, we have not had reports that indicate that the disaster has been able to damage their schools. They have been able to sit down for exams. No disruptions have been reported up to so far. We have been monitoring closely the sector and providing support. The challenge was in terms of the residential areas where a number of households were affected, but we were working with the municipalities to provide interim reliefs while we are awaiting for the province to be declared a disaster. The other challenge that we are worried about is that as we are continuously monitoring, working with the South African Weather Services, we are worried to say you can see that the heat wave that is currently affecting our province, and the prediction are that it might be followed by heavy storms and rain that can result into floods, and a lot of flooding. Our province being a rural province with municipalities not having well capacitated who can deal with that, that is one of our worry to say, how do we then currently assist our municipality to be ready? Because even the drainage system, you would note that because of the challenges of failure to maintain, you will find if we are to be having heavy rains, we might have face another severe disaster. That is where we are now to say, how do we prevent or protect or be ready to say we mitigate so that if we are hit by such heavy rains, we are ready and be able to protect our people.
Yeah, we're going to come to your investment plan in a moment, but I want us to stay with the schools a little bit. Of course, the president having been there also, will touch on some of those issues that have been raised around economic growth. But with the schools itself, Limpopo schools have not been spared from the challenge that many schools in South Africa are facing now of food poisoning. To that effect, the Limpopo Education Department would have temporarily suspended food sales in and around schools due to a surge in these alleged food poisoning incidences reported across the province. The school governing body, though, says the food poisoning is not as because of hawkers. It's not caused by hawkers, but they're saying it's because of the feeding scheme tender war that is orchestrated by individuals with vested interest. How do you come into that as the premier in terms of giving some leadership and direction?
I think when we registered regrettable, so unfortunately the first death, which is currently the only death that happens with this current incident, not referring to probably incident that happened in the previous years as a result of a suspected food poisoning. I think it was around the week of the 24th of October. A 13-year-old learner from Kuvi who bought snacks, and in one of the illegal spaza shop, ingested and shared with two more learners. The others were fortunately admitted at the hospital and survived. Unfortunately, this 13-year-old, it was registered as a death on arrival at one of our health centers. When we check the learners that have been reported with food poisoning, the report that we get, the common denominator is that they had been there in some history of ingestion of snacks. If you look at the I think it's around Makado municipality, the Ntabarara area, the same story, they did ingest that snacks. If you look at around the Malamulele area, there is also the same story. Therefore, as a provincial government, we could not just, because all these years, people were always blaming the feeding scheme to say, usually when the tenders are to come to an end, you have this report incidents of this nature. But when we really look here in some of these cases, we pick up that there is a history of ingestion of snacks. So that is why Department of Education says to rule out in another situation, the children ingested acha, which resulted in them having to be hospitalized. So that is why Education Department says, in the meantime, they want to suspend the sales and the vendors who are selling around until they will get the guidance. But you would remember that on the 27th of October, we immediately convened an urgent exco, where I then appointed an interministerial task team to really look into this whole matter. And as I speak for now, the team met and then they gave the report to EXCO on the 30th of October, which is Wednesday, just this past Wednesday. And within that executive council, we then took a decision to say, we need to do our part as government. We should not leave any suspicion. If all our feeding scheme nutritions, we are closely monitoring how food is prepared, the food handlers, we even though with the limited resources, especially looking at your health, environmental health practitioners, which you would note that the function have been devolved. It's no longer with the Department of Health, but with the municipalities. So due to the shortage at that time, you'll find that there is a challenge in terms of inspection of our vendors. But we have put that team that include the economic development and environmental affairs, which also include the health department, education department, community safety and police. And the SGBs also, we are saying every street vendor who are selling around our school or any government premises, especially with the schools, should be registered even with the SGB. And we are also saying we are banning certain brands that are being sold which do not have expiry dates, which we do not know where do they source, who is the service a provider, who it's the one that our mothers who are selling this and our sisters who are selling these snacks, where do they source them? And we're also encouraging them to say, when we come to you to do inspection, we would want you to show us where do you get your products, because indeed, if when we look at our saying the common denominator, you find that the snacks that these learners have ingested, they are all common. You don't know what brand it is. It's not labeled. It doesn't meet the requirements in terms of South African laws for food that can be ingested by any human being. We're also saying, as the Executive Council, you would see us in the coming weeks that we will be doing our own random inspection, which includes raiding our illegal, because our team also is comprising of the Provincial Commissioner of the Police. We will be invading some of this and raiding them to check what is happening. Those who do not have papers, who are owning spaza shops, we will have to close them down. Yeah. But also those of our own people who are the ones who are housing illegal spaza shops, because these spaza shops who are residing in our villages, they come to you and you give them a space and they open a spaza shop. They are not known by the chief. I had a 2-day retreat with our House of Traditional Leaders, our senior traditional leaders in the province. And we had to discuss this matter to say, when we grew up in our villages, we know there's no one who can come and reside in a village without the chief knowing. So they are also neglecting their duties, because it is their responsibility to know all their subjects. All their subjects must be well documented, they must be known, and whoever is running a business must run a legal business. So all these departments that I've said, we will be raiding, we will be doing our part as government, but we are not ignoring the fact that there could be food handlers who might have dropped the standards. We are also looking into that matter. But I still need to be convinced, because where I'm sitting, most of these children who were admitted, including the one that we have lost a life, and also the one who was admitted, and we had to airlift that child from Northam to Mukopane Regional Hospital after ingesting the snacks. So the common denominator still remain those snacks. And we have banned those snacks.
I would assume, Premier, yourself being a medical doctor, that is a scientific analysis and conclusion that you're coming down to.
That's what we are saying. For now, we have not get any other evidence with the current incidences that we have seen. For now, we are convinced that we need to ban these snacks. They should not be sold, and any vendor must be registered with SGBs, and SGBs together with school principals must work with us. They must also assist us in doing random inspection, because we will also be doing random inspection at the level of the Executive Council.
Premier, I want us to talk the investment conference in a moment. Stay with us. That's the Premier of Limpopo, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba. You can weigh in tonight on the conversation if you've got some views you'd like to share with the Premier. 072-110-5584. Drop us an X at Newzroom 405. We'll continue the conversation in a moment. Back live with you tonight in conversation with Limpopo Premier and the member of the ANC in the province of Limpopo, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba, is still with us. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa would have attended an extended provincial executive committee gathering in Limpopo recently and expressed his satisfaction about the state of the party in that province. We'll get into those issues. But the other thing, Premier, that the president would have expressed is the concern, one, around the underutilization of arable land, the slow land reform process, and therefore the below par output as far as your agricultural output is concerned when put in comparison with the potential that the province should actually be producing. What are the obstacles? What is behind that low output?
I think what we need to appreciate, especially when it comes to the agriculture, which the president was very much firm in raising, especially when he met Executive Council, because on Friday, as the President of the Republic, he met with us as EXCO together with his cabinet minister, director generals, and also deputy ministers. The issue on Limpopo having 28%, more than I think it's 28.7% of its residents being farmers in their own right. But out of that 28%, which is the largest in the country, which is a sign that there is an appetite amongst our people in terms of prioritizing agriculture. But the challenge here becomes where you have 83% of those 28% who produce food just for their own consumption, for their own livelihoods. And that is where the challenge of utilizing agriculture as for economic growth being a serious challenge. Because if you, comparatively speaking, look at Western Cape, while it has less appetite for farming or household, or less percentage of farmers, but they've got more than 21% of those who are farming or commercial farmers. So the challenge here is that we need to put much more effort in terms of training of our subsistence farmers who has already shown their appetite for farming. And when we redistribute the land should be prioritized to those who have got capacity to can farm, because they've already proven in their own right that an old man in a village has got 30 cattle and has got chickens with goats, is able to plow, mill, and all that, but does not get that support. So that support from a government should be focused on that. The training of those who farm, for instance, we are rich in avocados, if you look at that. and there is a lot of market of avocados, whether you go to China, as presented there by ministers who were there. But the challenge here is that does our cover avocados meet the international standards that are required for export? So the challenge becomes there. So that is where we are saying we need to really focus on the training of our farmers who have already shown interest, and so that they are the ones who are prioritized in terms of land, in terms of the support that government is prioritizing. The second issue which was really discussed was when you look at the land that has already been reclaimed. For instance, you would hear the minister handing over, the current minister was handing over the land around outside Zanini last week, giving a title deeds. And then it goes to our CPAs. And instead of our CPAs to be focused on the task ahead, or maybe it's because as government, when we there is the land claim and we hand over the land to the CPA, we leave and there's no skills transferred. That's why you find the land, it's lying fallow and nothing, no agricultural activity is happening. And there is infightings amongst the CPA. There is no ownership. Everybody just thought maybe by getting this land, we are all interested in getting the money. And that's what is regressing us in terms of commercial farming. So those are the areas wherein we are going to be working together with also already. We had started to meet commercial farmers. If you remember not so long, we had a meeting with ZZ2, Mr. Van Zyl, to start to look at some of these areas and also start to get commercial farmers who would be mentoring some of these subsistence farmers so that they themselves can be able to enter and understand the market. The national government is committed to also support us in getting the international markets for the goods that we are producing.
You've got two mega SEZs, if you like, that need a lot of investment. You've established them, but you need to be unlocking private sector investment. Is it coincidence that the president raises this issue, and you're having a conference this week?
Obviously, Tawe, you would understand that the conference cannot just be planned to be held just in 7 days after the president would have left. We must just acknowledge the fact that Limpopo things have changed, and we are doing things differently. There's a lot of activity happening. The visit by the president and the cabinet, and also our investment conference, it's just showing the global community out there. I will not limit ourselves to South Africans, but to say the global, because we are looking at international investors. It's just a sign to show you that we are open for all a new business opportunity, new investors. We are open for markets, everyone. We want new challenges. Yes, indeed, we do have our two SEZ, the Musina Makado SEZ, where we had a challenge when you look at the north side in terms of finalization of the transfer of land. So the visit by the president has been able to unlock this one outstanding matter wherein the Minister of Land and also the Director General have made their own commitments that that matter will be addressed. So once the land is transferred to the municipality, then we will be able to now start because we already have, if you would remember, we were fortunate as a province to be amongst the provinces that were invited by the president during the visit, state visit in China. During that visit, we've been able to meet some of the investors who show an appetite and interested in investing in that Musina Makado, because we are also looking at the new renewable energy to be part of those, also hydrogen energy, looking at those. It's gonna be quite interesting. The south part also, which is the Makado side, we are also, we just need to finalize the EIA that has been there between some of the NGOs that have lodged the dispute. Once those areas have been finalized, we'll start to do that. And then on the other side, you have got the Fitahomu Tubati SEZ. With that particular SEZ, we are far ahead. It's now an industrial park which is owned by LEADER, and what is left is for the Minister of Trade and Industry to be able to gazette it so that the President can sign. So we think these two SEZ will be the catalytic project which can change the face of Limpopo completely, so that when our young people graduate from the university, do not think about N1 south towards Gauteng and other provinces for greener pastures, but they can remain in their province because there would be job opportunities which is requiring their skills. So this particular investment conference, that is an annual conference, we've been, I think is the fourth one. The first one was opened by the president himself, and we are learning from the previous three conferences to say what is something new that we can do differently compared to what we did in the past. One of the challenges that President has raised with us, that we should be able to answer the question after this conference to say Limpopo being with all these mineral endowments, Limpopo rich in platinum, in chrome, iron ore, and a number of them, why Limpopo being rich in agriculture, its climate favorable for agriculture, why Limpopo with a natural resource, the newer one, the sun, you note that areas like Musina, Palabura could be up to 41 degrees Celsius. With that, which has given us opportunity for renewable energy. Limpopo being rich in tourism, why are we failing to be able to inspire inclusive economic growth and development so that we can be able to...
One of the areas is infrastructure, particularly water infrastructure,
Yes.
would have been highlighted.
That is what I was coming to say. He said we should be able to answer that question, why. And to us, we have indicated that the major problem which we are currently having as a province, it's water, because water is not just for consumed for livelihood. Water on its own is an enabler for economic growth. If you look at the energy, Minister of Electricity have done extremely very well in addressing, and he's still working with us in order in building these solar plants, which would come in very handy when you look at our SEZ, as I've already indicated, that we are blessed in terms of the sun. That it's another natural resource. Yeah. But when you look at water, and unfortunately, the biggest challenge we're having as a provincial government, which we discussed that matter, is that you find that municipalities have got a water authority, and then provincial government would not have, and national government, Department of Water and Sanitation. So the advantage is that the Minister of Water and the Deputy Minister were there, part of the delegation, and we have been able to come up with an agreement to say the process of unlocking and dealing with water infrastructure, so that if we are able to win on that, I can tell you we will go a long way. The other area would be the issue of roads. You would have noted that as a province, when we came in during the 7th administration, we look at our roads surface to say we have got around almost 20,000 kilometers in terms of the road, and of those, just above 6,000 kilometers are paved or tarred. More than 13,000 are not, and that pose a challenge in the sense that because they've not been maintained, our people, everybody wants a tar road. Not because everybody wants a tar road, but the reality is that if you have got a gravel road that is not maintained, which it's never re-gravel, never resurfaced, therefore you can't even travel even on that particular gravel road. You are forced to demand the tar road. Hence, you might have seen that we started with a project to say, looking at the internal resources that we have, let's build internal capacity of public works, wherein we are now maintaining the roads. You would note our project called Dikharekhere Wednesday. This is a program where we use it to go and re-gravel roads that goes to Mishate, to the graveyards, to schools, to clinic, but also to tourism destination, also to factories, to industries. Those roads that are still waiting to be paved or to be tapped, we are now maintaining them through this particular program.
Now, finally, let's look a little bit of the politics of government of national unity in a way, if you like, not necessarily so, but it's around the question of Thabazimbi and how the DA is saying you have interfered there, particularly by placing that municipality under administration. It seems as yet, your efforts to put it under administration have not really turned the fate of that municipality. What was your rationale?
I wouldn't know why it has not put the fate, but what I can give you the background is that when we came in as a seventh administration, one of the area, I remember the day when I was driving towards the opening of the legislature, when I was going to give the speech, I usually listen to radio and Kakwalatsila in the morning, Tobela FM, a caller called and said, I would wish the Premier to address the issue of Thabazimbi. And most callers came in to say, we really can't. So that was one of our priorities. We went to the municipality. Maybe just to give you a brief background, 2021 local government, there was no party that had an outright majority. Therefore, the DA was able to form a coalition with other parties. And within that coalition, it collapsed after, because that coalition had no ANC. But that coalition collapsed after some time. When it collapsed, then the ANC went and formed its own coalition. Then the DA coalition went to a challenge in court. Then the court ruled in favor of the DA. Then the ANC went to appeal in court. Then, you know, as long as one party wins, the other takes to court. So what was happening is that both factions were at fault. Both factions were spending the very same money that it's supposed to be the grants that goes towards service delivery in the municipality. The money was only used to be in court. Councillors were spending time in courts than spending in the municipal council and in their communities. We are not saying people mustn't go to court, but people have voted us to be within the council chamber, take decisions, and go and implement them in the communities. Now, there was no municipalities. You had two mayors, mayor from one faction and another mayor. You had two municipal managers, two speakers, two chief whips, two CFOs. Then municipality had completely collapsed. The MEC went there for Kokta and tried to meet with the councillors. He went with the councillors to meet the community. Community actually says, we don't want to listen to all these councillors. All of them are the same because none of them is doing the work that they are elected to do. Now, they left us with no option. We met as EXCO. We appointed a team first to go and support them. They went there. Nobody wants to listen. Even within the staff of the municipality, you've got two factions of staff. The other staff belongs to this group. When this other group it's in charge, they suspend these other ones. When these other ones they suspend the other one. But the people who were suffering were the people of Thabazimbi. There was nothing that was happening. For instance, municipality is owing Eskom a lot of money. Treasury came up with a way on how to assist municipalities with Eskom debts to avoid being switched off. Other municipalities were able to meet the terms that National Treasury put. This particular municipality could not because they did not. They were not having any municipality. It was a painful decision, but we had to take it because after the MEC and the technical team came and give us the report, we look into that report. We then wrote to the municipality to say, explain to us why as provincial government, we should not put you into a section 139(1)(c). They did not respond. We gave them 7 days. On the last day, they sent me as a letter to say, we are requesting an extension. We gave them another 7 days of extension. On the 7th day of extension, the extension, they didn't give us a report. Even today, we don't know the reason why we should not put them under Section 139(1)(c). We received a summons from court interdicting us. We went to court, and the court ruled in our favor to say we need to continue and prioritize the lives of the people of Thabazimbi. Then following that, we wrote to the Minister of COGTA. Yeah. The minister responded to our MEC after he has gone through all the report. We wrote to NCOP. NCOP came. What is quite interesting is that all political parties are represented in the NCOP. And all of them, I was in that NCOP after their visit, having met with the communities, listening to the communities. The NCOP unanimously, all political parties there agreed to say, let's allow provincial government to dissolve the municipality. Because Section 139(1)(c) simple means you dissolve the municipality and declare vacancy and get IEC. And now the elections, it's on the 4th of December. But lastly, what I must indicate is that I don't agree that after dissolving, things are not happening. I've been to that municipality probably 3 times since its dissolvement. I have visited areas where there were challenges. We've put up together with the executive mayor of Waterberg district, because Thabazimbi is under district municipality. We had challenges of sewage spillage. It has now been addressed. We have been able to get sister municipality, Mogalakwena, to assist us, Modimule Mokopong to assist. Public Works has gone there. We are busy with the roads there because provincial government.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on, Premier. Let's leave it there for tonight. That is the Premier of Limpopo there, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba.